So here we are in the National Gallery in Oslo, Norway, and before us we have a very famous painting most of us have probably seen before. This is The Scream by Edvard Munch, painted in 1893. Throughout its history, its various versions have been stolen several times, but they've always been recovered. This particular one, traditionally regarded as the real Scream, has been stolen once, although it does not sustain any damage. This background of both thefts and theft attempts should provide some insight into the cultural significance of the Scream. It's become an icon for modern art, almost like the Mona Lisa of expressionist paintings, which raises the question of why it's so well known. Now, the first thing I notice when I look at this painting is its emotional charge. It's almost disturbing to me how packed the Scream is with fear and pain. The curves of the face against the vivid colors in the background really instills a sense of panic, and even though this clearly doesn't accurately depict reality, its emotion seems incredibly real.
I agree with the idea that the scream creates a sense of fear and pain for the viewer. Adding to that idea, when I look at the painting, I notice a sense of unknowing. The lines in the painting all lead to a focal point in the background. The focal point in the background are the two unknown figures located behind the central figure. The figures in the background are difficult to distinguish, which also adds to the sense of unknowing created by this painting.
And more specifically by Munch's artistic choices, right? Because this, of course, is the purpose of Expressionism, which classifies Munch's style very well. Expressionist artists use their artwork to express their emotions with deliberate artistic techniques. They sought to depict the world subjectively in order to objectively impart the viewer with a certain perspective. Expressionism differs from Impressionism in its reliance upon the expression of emotions, even diverging significantly from actuality for this purpose. This is particularly clear in The Scream, in which the dramatized, streaky sky and distorted, ghost-like face quite obviously depart from their counterparts in reality, in order to give the viewer a certain emotional perspective. For instance, the colors, like the bloody reds in the sky, certainly contain an expressive, almost surreal emotional charge. However, they do at least have some basis in reality, as Munch himself wrote in his diary. I was walking down the road with two friends when the sun set. Suddenly, the sky turned as red as blood. I stopped and leaned against the fence, feeling unspeakably tired. Tongues of fire and blood stretched over the bluish-black fjord. My friends went on walking, while I lagged behind, shivering with fear. Then I heard the enormous, infinite scream of nature. This experience, which quite clearly serves as the inspiration for the Scream, actually refers to the brilliant red skies that followed the 1883 eruption of Krakatoa, a volcanic Indonesian island. When it exploded, volcanic aerosols were sent all over the world, resulting in sunsets like the one depicted here. But against this brilliant sky stands a figure. And what do we notice about this figure?
The figure in the painting is screaming, and the brushstrokes help to create an interaction between the figure and the viewer. The brushstrokes help serve as sound waves emanating from the figure. Also, the sightline of the figure is directly towards the viewer. The sightline allows the idea that there's meant to be some kind of interaction between the viewer and the figure. The figure in the painting is described as ambiguous, and it is also extremely difficult to decipher what the figure in the painting represents. The figure can be anything from a man to a woman to even an alien of some sorts. This creates the idea that the artist wanted to create the idea of universality among the feeling that the figure is having. Not specifying the gender makes the observer believe that the feeling felt by the figure is a universal feeling, felt by everyone, no matter gender or race. Being specific with the gender or race of the figure would have made for the viewer to have more of a closed interpretation of the painting. If the gender and race of the figure was specified, the viewer may have believed that the figure's feeling was specific to only that specific race or gender. Also, when looking at the painting, I noticed the large amount of open space that isn't taken up by any other figures in this painting. Space allows for the viewer to concentrate on the two main figures in the painting. If the painting was muddled up with other figures, the focus of the painting would not be directly on the two main focal points.
And then, to the left, we also see two mysterious black figures. Perhaps the friends Munch was referring to in his diary entry. But the background is mostly dominated by empty space. And we know that the artist probably suffered from agoraphobia, the fear of open spaces, or at the very least was an introvert, and a very lonely one at that. So if we know that Munch feared these wide expanses of open space, we can probably assume that he deliberately used space in order to instill the viewer with yet more fear.
In addition, Munch was able to combine history, art, and nature in the screen. Using red in the background represents the volcanic island of Krakatoa and its explosion. The figure may be shown to be scared of the volcanic eruption, shown by the red sky in the background. He connected history and nature of the volcanic eruption with the art of the painting.
And remember that Munch wrote that he heard the enormous, infinite scream of nature, implying that the screamer is nature itself. With this knowledge, we can even interpret the shriek as self-fearing, which would provide the painting with yet another layer of emotion, fear, and pain. In fact, the entire work may be taken as a forceful combination between the feelings packed within the scream itself and the objectivity of Munch's deliberate artistic choices. All of this in an expressionist masterpiece that, despite its inherent emotional charge, does indeed allow the viewer to interpret the work subjectively. Absolutely brilliant.